Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is about the death of, well, the murder really of the man who created Cash App, which I use, and you quite possibly use too. And it's something that it's one thing we could just say it just should never have happened, but it did. And what got me is he was found stabbed. Yeah, yeah. He wasn't. It wasn't like, oh well, you know, they found the assailant and the assailant's arrested. Nothing like that. The other thing that got me is this photograph. That could be me. That's United Airlines. I've been on those planes thousands of times, traveling back to the Bay Area or going here to Atlanta. And also, what got me was Michael Arrington, who I've known for quite some time, who tweeted that he knew Bob for 15 years. Now, if you don't know who Michael Arrington is, Michael Arrington created TechCrunch, which was the first blog specifically about startups. And I got to know him covering his event, TechCrunch Disrupt. I say all that to say this. I think the most appropriate response, if all of us who are in some kind of way involved in tech, developing our platforms, trying to get funding, all that stuff, trying to be the next Bob, I guess, even at my age, should come up with a tech solution that helps everybody. And what that should be, I think off the top of my head, conceptually, it should be some kind of way of making certain that wherever a person is in a certain part or parts of a city or neighborhood, there should be a camera. And there should be a way of having those cameras or cameras activated or already activated so that no one has the idea that they can do something to a person and not be seen. Okay. Now I know where this is going to head. People are going to talk about rights to privacy. They're going to talk about this being draconian. They're going to say this is Big Brother. My argument is we're already there. We just haven't perfected it. And if you're going to be in an era where we don't want crime to be done to people, and yet there are those of us who don't want to appropriately fund law enforcement to do a job of catching someone or the courts to appropriately prosecute them. And then I can understand the concerns about jailing because there's a lot of improprieties that happen there. Then we need a different solution. We need a solution that fits our technical abilities of today. And I think it has to be something involving smartphones in some kind of way that acts as a kind of sonar. And yeah, I'm thinking about that scene in The Dark Knight where Lucius Fox had the giant screen with all the cell phones, right? But some kind of imaging device so that if somebody does something, we stand a better chance of catching them. Because this poor man lay dead, and he was found by someone in the middle of San Francisco. All right. Yeah, I know companies have left. Downtown's not what it used to be. The whole 9 yards. But if we need to take a big step, one of many, to bring San Francisco back to where it used to be, I think it takes a series of tech solutions. And one of them should be such that people have some comfort to know that they can walk without being apprehended or picked on or robbed or killed. Because whoever does that, even if it's to harass somebody, will be seen on some type of camera and imaging, and there'll be a database record of them so that officials and groups can follow up and track these folks down and bring them to justice. And then on the other hand, we need a solution that says we're going to do what we can to make sure that people who don't have money have it, which is because that's the other part of the problem. This was a robbery attempt. We don't know exactly what went down because, to my knowledge, nobody picked up on any camera. There may be security cameras around, but were they activated? I don't know. Do you know? I have no idea. This is horrible. This is a man who may very well have been in the same room as I was when I went to one of Michael's events, you know? And this is the quintessential, okay, now we've got a problem because this truly can happen to anybody situation. But it shouldn't happen to anybody. You know, it shouldn't. This is another in your face example of how the Bay Area has changed, where you can't say, hey, this is an Oakland problem. No, this happened in San Francisco. To which you would say, well, it shouldn't matter. And you would be right. It shouldn't. But to other people in the past, it has. All right. We need a series of tech solutions. If anything, to honor this man's death. If anything, to honor the fact that this has impacted the tech community. And if anything, to pay attention to the fact that we're not using the tools out there. Dan Fiore says, you're trying to reason with the unreasonable. Drugs work people high out of their mind. I don't know that I'm trying to reason with the unreasonable, Dan. You know, I didn't say that at all. And thank you for your comment. But what I'm saying is, all I'm saying is that we need, and I don't know where that comment came from at all. We need a tech answer in terms of surveillance. I don't understand what surveillance has to do with that. We don't know, Daniel, we don't know what the man looked like. All right, let me change this. We don't know what the man who killed him, or if it was a man, looked like. Do you? No idea. Okay? Zero idea. That's what gets me. Who's at large? No one knows. Will they find out who? Maybe? I mean, seriously, we're going to rest with that idea? Maybe? No. We have the means to do better. All right? Well, my point is it was a robbery. I didn't say it was over money. That's what the report said. Robbery. Okay, now the mental state of the person. Okay, mental state. But they said he was robbed. I didn't make that up. I didn't go out there and write that thing. It came from SF Gate. All right. You want to tell me it's not accurate? Why argue about that? The guy's dead. I mean, that's a completely ridiculous. No offense, you know, but my point is we need to fashion a solution. And I don't accept that because someone is drugged and out of their mind that we can't do anything. We can at least figure out who did what where faster. We can see it ideally in real time as it happens and know where to go and apprehend that person. Or perhaps even save him, because how long was he laying there? I don't know. All right. Promising free money. No, it's not. It's not. And that's part of the problem. We created a society where it's okay to be homeless. I'm going to get off on that, but it's true. It is not insane. My contention is you have no idea what drives a person to that level when they don't have something. And so then they take drugs and everything else to solve themselves because of that situation. And they feel like it's insurmountable. All right. So no, I completely 1,000,000,000% disagree with your ideology. And I say that it's that ideology that is the reason why we're having these problems today. Straight up. No. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop making assumptions about other people based on that. The simple fact of the matter is you need money to survive. Purely end of story. The option should be there. The simple fact of the matter is that if I get on a phone, like here, I make a service call, I'm calling overseas. What does that mean? It means that the dollars that I'm paying here are leaked out of the United States to areas that don't hire people like that look like me, don't know what you look like. Okay? Wrong. All right. We have created a society that has formed the environment for folks to be harmed in ways like he was harmed. And then you basically are coming on here and you're saying to me, essentially nothing can be done. I say to you, you have no idea what it means to think like an engineer. Just like Dr. McCoy said in Star Trek, the motion picture, I know engineers, they love to change things. Well, that's not you. Oh, and by the way, happy first contact day. No. Absolutely 1,000,000% no, I'm not accepting that idea. Wrong, wrong, wrong. We need a tech solution, series of them, to solve this problem. And I don't want anybody telling me the problem can't be solved. It can. You understand? It can. Where there's a will, there's always the way. Where there's no will, just like what you're saying, there's no way. No, absolutely not. We must find a way. Because in finding that way, arguably the ultimate tech solution of our age, and guess what? We will have truly realized a better society. And I think that's where we're at. That's what Bob was at when he created Cash App. So it's truly an action in honor of him. And I believe and I assert that's what we should do. We need to find solutions that are tech-based to make these kind of acts far, far, far less likely. And they have to be multi-pronged. When I worked for Elihu Harris as his economic advisor, I sat on the Community Economic Development Agency. We gave out loans, not grants, to minority nonprofit organizations, which are doing good work like job training. And then we had some of our elected officials who would essentially use that relationships to talk down to these poor folks. I didn't put up with that. And I never forgot it. And I would always advocate to turn the loan into a grant. Always. Okay? All right? Screaming and positive thinking isn't going to stop birds falling on crumbs. Good luck to you, bud. Daniel, you must have a sad life because screaming and positive thinking move a lot of mountains. You're just afraid to try it. Okay? You're afraid to try it. You want to stick your head in the sand and do nothing, and then you want to try to tell me to stick my head in the sand and do nothing? Forget it, bud. That ship sailed a long time ago, like when I was born. All right? That ain't happening. Okay? If that's how you live your life, that's one thing. But you live a sad life, man. And do not, I hope you don't have kids and raise them with the same ideology. Because then we will be worse off. You have to take action. Screaming and positive thinking does change and does move mountains. It's called prayer and belief in the Lord, which I'm about to assume that maybe you don't believe in God. I certainly do. Okay. So we have a clear ideological difference. That's what makes America. Let's argue. I say you're wrong. Okay. But more than argue, once we argue, I'm going to work. I've already gone to work. I'm putting this out there. Got your reaction. Cool. Because I got you to thinking. You don't have to agree with me, but at some point, you're going to say, you know what? That bald-headed black dude was right. Watch. Okay? Watch. We have to honor what happened to him. And that's the way to do it. Don't tell me anything about, oh, we can't do anything because somebody's on drugs or anything like that. I had a relative removed, as they call, like you have a step brother-in-law, that sort of thing. And he was on cocaine. So bad, Daniel, that when we went to his home in Hayward, he had boarded up his windows because he thought the devil was kind of come in to get him. And how did he board up his windows? He broke down his own bed. Yeah, I never seen anything like that before or since. But we stuck with him, helped him get the treatment he needed, and so did his employer, PG&E. And he emerged to become a very positive force in the world like he was before then. Why did he get on drugs? Because he wanted to have sex with a woman. And she wasn't even that good looking. Okay? That was the only reason. So when you say, I'm trying to reason with unreasonable people and drugs are at work, I've seen that picture. You can't fear to do something. The people that you're afraid of are the ones that want your help. Don't forget that. Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward ever. It doesn't necessarily take a big action. Sometimes it takes the right word at the right time at the right place. Sometimes it takes the right amount of money at the right time at the right place. Sometimes it takes what's called an intervention at the right time and the right place. But you have to care. And yelling does matter. Because I'm pissed off about it. Period. Bud. Now I feel like I'm starting to sound like Dean Stratton, the Rush Chair in Animal House. Damn glad to meet you. We can't let this go down without caring. Okay? We got to care. Caring, positive thinking, and getting pissed off and screaming, you doggone right, makes a difference. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't be a coward. Subscribe to Zinni62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com. That is this broadcast.